Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dive deep into the world of SEC filings. Today, we're cracking open Oruka Therapeutics' latest report, and let me tell you, it's got a lot more than just skin-deep information. We're talking about potential game changers in psoriasis treatment, a bold strategy, and a whole lot of cash, but at what cost? This filing, dated March 6, 2025, is actually an update to a previous registration. It's post-effective amendment number 1 to Form S1. Think of it as a company hitting the refresh button to include their fresh financial statements for the year that just ended, December 31, 2024, and updated information about who's selling stock. Oruka is a clinical-stage biopharmaceutical company, meaning they're still in the trenches, running trials and trying to get their drugs approved. They're focused on developing new antibody treatments, specifically for psoriasis and other inflammatory and immunology conditions. Their name actually hints at their mission, or, for skin and Aruka, meaning restoration, their goal to give patients more freedom from chronic skin diseases. Their lead drug, ORKA-001, targets a specific protein called IL-23, which is a known culprit in psoriasis. They're hoping to make a big splash with it. Think of IL-23 as the master switch for inflammation, and ORKA-001 is designed to turn it off. They also have a co-lead program, ORKA-002, aimed at blocking IL-17, another key player in inflammation. This one has potential for psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and maybe even other conditions. So while ORKA-001 is aiming at IL-23, ORKA-002 is attacking IL-17, both inflammation triggers. Now here's where things get interesting. Oruka as we know it today is actually the result of a business combination, or merger, with a company called ARCA Biopharma way back in 2024. Basically, ARCA acquired Oruka and then changed its name to Oruka Therapeutics. It's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly with a change of name and corporate identity as part of the transformation. To make this merger happen, Oruka got a huge cash infusion from investors, a pre-closing financing that raised about $275 million, which includes money from a previous convertible note offering that was then converted to stock. After the merger, they did a reverse stock split, meaning 12 old shares became one new share. This makes the stock price look higher, even though the underlying value of holdings stays the same. It's akin to taking 12 small slices of pie and combining them into a single, larger slice. Then they did another private placement, selling common stock, preferred stock that converts into common stock, and pre-funded warrants for a total of about $200.5 million. All this activity really boils down to Oruka securing a hefty war chest to fund their drug development efforts, which is a very costly endeavor. As of the end of last year, they had roughly 37.4 million shares of common stock outstanding, but that doesn't tell the whole story. There are a lot of other potential shares floating out there in the form of preferred stock, warrants, and employee options. You can find Oruka trading on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol ORKA. This is how the public can buy-sell this company. It comes as no surprise, like many other reports, there are inherent risks associated with the stock. The report highlights everything from drug development and regulatory approval to financial stability and intellectual property protection. A key risk is dependence of future success being substantially dependent on ORKA-001 and ORKA-002. These are high-risk ventures with uncertain outcomes. Another key risk is that Oruka is still a clinical stage company with a limited track record and a history of losses. All this is very normal for this type of company. It's still something to be noted. Manufacturing these drugs is no easy feat, and if they can't master the science, they may not get their products approved, a potentially crippling blow. Protecting intellectual property is a constant battle, and they need to win it. They also have to work with other parties, so a dependency on these other parties to do their job is critical. Even if the markets in which we compete achieve the forecasted growth, our business may not grow at similar rates or at all. It all goes back to what we keep talking about. The business market foreseeability is still very uncertain. They're not actually selling any shares themselves with this filing. The selling stockholders will get all of the proceeds and Oruka won't receive a dime, except if the warrants get exercised, then they'll get a tiny amount of cash to use for general purposes. Let's get into the money. Oruka lost $83.7 million for the period from February 6, 2024 to December 31, 2024. That's a big number, but it is expected for a company in their phase. All that's important is to compare this metric to future reports to see if costs go up and how successful they have been at finding a balance to getting their products to market. As of December 31, 2024, they did have almost $400 million in cash and investments. That's a good cushion to keep them afloat, but they expect those losses to continue for the foreseeable future. They are burning through quite a bit of cash. In that same period, they went through $57.8 million in operating activities and $330 million on investments. The great news is that they had $449 million in financing activities. So Oruka is in a position to spend, but they will need to find more revenue streams in the future. Another important thing to note is that getting approval from the FDA is no easy task. There are requirements in manufacturing and safety. They need to show that they can make these drugs safely and consistently. If they can't convince regulators, they won't get the green light to sell their products. They are also subject to changes in government and the SEC, and this can affect their ability to perform routine functions. If such concerns prevent the FDA or other regulatory authorities from conducting their regular inspections, reviews, or other regulatory activities, it could significantly impact the ability of the FDA or other regulatory authorities to timely review and process our regulatory submissions, which could have a material adverse effect on their business. They have to be wary of hackers trying to steal their data. There's a conflicts of interest rules they need to follow, or data from trails might be questioned. Their cash is at financial institutions, and the failure of these institutions could affect their ability to pay operational expenses. Insiders own a decent chunk of the company. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but should be acknowledged. Okay, so what's the call on Oruka? They are definitely playing in a high-risk, high-reward space. They're swimming in cash right now thanks to recent financing rounds. That gives them runway to pursue their clinical trials. I like how focused they are, sticking to eye and eye diseases. It streamlines their research and development. However, there's a lot of uncertainty ahead. Drug development is tough, and regulatory hurdles can be huge roadblocks. Plus, they are heavily reliant on a few key partnerships, and any hiccups there could derail their plans. There are risks for the stock for sure, and I would not go all in on this stock just yet. All that said, there may be potential. If they can pull off their plan and successfully develop drugs with better efficacy and more convenient dosing, they could become a major player in the psoriasis market. It's a gamble, but the payoff could be significant. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, please subscribe, like, and comment.